So hello and welcome to Expert Link and me, David Ford, and our first vlog on a series of events that we're running, live events. It's conversations in co-production or on co-production, and this is the first one. It's called Valuing the Voice of Lived Experience. So there's a couple of notes to start off with. The first thing is that we don't own the monopoly on the truth. Absolutely not. It's just from our experience, and we got a whole bunch of people into a Zoom room, and had a conversation about valuing that voice, and so it's the wisdom there as well. So our truth and my truth might not be the same as yours. I think that's one of the other things to mention. Although we don't own the monopoly on the truth, what is true, certainly for me, is that I've been involved. My background is multiple disadvantages, all of those disadvantages together. But I would say I have been involved in co-production for over 10 years now, way back in the day when me and a wonderful guy called Roger Back got together, who's a major in the Salvation Army, and a couple of his people. They were amazing people. We got together and we developed a project called The Well. It's a day centre drop-in. It's still running today, and that was bringing the wisdom from that lived experience, what we needed at that well, at that project, and what the Salvation Army could offer up as well. I've also been involved in lots and lots of groups right from the start. The LAX movement, found a member there. The Co-Creation with Love movement, found a member there. Lots and lots of different groups. So I'm bringing that wisdom. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm bringing that all of the time. But I'm bringing that wisdom into the room. So, okay, valuing the voices of lived experience. So, context, Zoom room, 14 people in it. We're having a conversation. But the way we set it off was really important. So we asked 3 questions of ourselves. The first was, what does being valued mean to me? And then, how does that make me feel? And what needed to happen for me to feel valued? You see, I think it's really, really important for us to start talking about values and what it means to try and help someone else to feel valued. We need to experience that ourselves too. So we need to just check in with ourselves and ask those questions. What does being valued mean to me? How does it make me feel? And what needed to happen? And that's a really good place to start when we start talking about valuing voices and other people, especially in the context of co-production in our world of multiple disadvantage and getting lived experience into the room. Okay, so we covered five sort of areas, 5 topics, and our first one was about getting people into the room and the challenges that we have. And so here's some tips that came out of that. The first thing is to recognise why people might want to come into the room and get involved in co-production or research or whatever it is that want to get involved in. And I think it's especially for those of us with lived experience, and I think it's really important to recognise that most of us with lived experience backgrounds, when we start on our journey of recovery, whether it's from mental health, whether it's from substance and alcohol misuse, whether it's changing the way that our behaviour so we don't get caught up in the criminal justice system again, all of those things, victims of abuse and domestic violence, as we go on that journey of change and becoming whole again, one of the things that's really important to us often is that we're given the opportunity to give back and to make a difference. And have some purpose around creating some sort of change. So I think that's really important to recognise. And I think, secondly, the other main parts of it about when we bring people into the room is how we do it. And we absolutely need to come from a place of authenticity when we do it, and honesty and clarity. We need to be really, really clear with people what they're getting involved in, and how they can get out of it if they want to, if they choose to, and being honest with people. So we'll come on to expectations a little bit later on, managing them. But one of the things for me when I'm out doing peer research, one of the phrases I use is that we're doing some research. for whatever, it's probably not going to make a jot of difference to your life. But this isn't about us. This is about us helping those who are following in our footsteps. And, people want to help. But if we're clear that actually, for me, when I'm doing my research, I think being clear to them that the work that we're doing probably isn't going to help them, I haven't led them into a belief that if they get involved with something, their world is going to change miraculously overnight. And we don't need to give people that false hope, if you like, when they're getting involved in stuff, because that's where the challenges start coming in a bit later. So the second thing that we talked about is how do we, once we get people into the room, some of the things that we might want to be clear about. Well, the first one on top of the list was listening. And actually, when we asked the original question, what was it like, how does it feel to be valued, and what needed to happen? A lot of the answers in the chat were about people sitting down and having a cup of tea and being listened to. We really, as a race and as human beings, we value being listened to. Genuinely listened to, and I think that came out. I know that came out as the top thing when we get people in the room. We make sure that we listen to people, and I know sometimes that can be really, really challenging, especially when there's a lot going on. But actually, listening to people, the key number one thing. The second thing was around not judging people, and that's forever in my world, being judged, and people from my community complaining about being judged, because that's how people feel often. Not necessarily true, but often it can be. We went on then to talk a little bit about boundaries and how important they are, and maybe agendas help with meetings and stuff, even if there's no clear end. We're starting here and we're going to finish here, and this is what our outcome's going to be, especially with co-production, because it can be a little bit messy and chaotic, but which is good, because that's where all the ideas and the creativity comes from, and the wonderful wisdom flows into the room and those conversations. But having some sort of agenda to help manage the boundaries, things like that, is a useful and helpful tool. The other thing was about managing expectations, and how do we manage expectations, especially when if we have a bit of a loose agenda, and we get people in a room and then actually they're thinking, wow, we can do this and we can do that and we can change the world and we can create so much, and isn't this whoosh, all of a sudden people's expectations are way beyond reality. There was there's a couple of really, really good analogies that came out to help us to do that. And one of them was about when you're setting the scene and the boundaries and agendas and stuff like that, you use a football analogy to manage expectations and boundaries and stuff like that. And that's working out what the offside rule is. For those of you who don't know what the offside rule is, that's another story. Knowing when a goal's been scored, maybe, and all that sort of stuff, and who's going to referee it, and a yellow card and a red card. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic analogy. I have not given it justice, but I want to thank Ishbel for that, and maybe there's something about we can, if anyone wants to come on and have a chat with us about it, we can get it in more detail, and maybe we can persuade Ishbel to join us for a chat and run us through the football scenario. And the other one was the other analogy was having a shoebox in the room where you put all the boundaries, if you like, the expectations, like we've only got this money, we can't do this, we can do that, and then allow people to be creative in that wonderful space around that box. We also talked about, when we were talking about being in the room, is how important the environment is, and that people being able to access it, the temperature, and we talked about food, all sorts of things. But the key thing would be, if you've got people in the room, you sit and think about the environment that you're holding that space in, so that it is conducive to people to having conversations and things. Okay. We went on to our third point, which was talking a little bit about feedback. And, feedback is really, really important. And it's one of those things that often we don't give enough of. So within the group, they were saying it should be immediate, there should be lots of opportunities. And also about, when we get people involved in stuff, from our community, quite often, we're not gifted with too much patience. And we're thinking things can happen tomorrow. I'm guilty, absolutely, and I know loads of our guys are. However, that doesn't mean that we can't be giving people feedback as we go along that journey to create that change if it's taking time. It's keeping people updated, a really, really important part. The important key thing is that we do give feedback, and we give every opportunity for people to feedback themselves. So there was another important part that I think it was Dan brought it up, was about consent. If people are coming into a room and they're giving of themselves, have we then got consent to use it? I think that's a really important thing to note. But what he went on to talk about, which was really cool, is about, forgive me if I've got this wrong, Dan, but actually people having the power to hold on to their consent. So when they give it away and they give your consent, give you the consent to use their stories or whatever they've offered up, that they have the power to bring that back and withdraw that consent so that they can hold on to it. I think that's really important at any point, because people's lives change and their circumstances change. And maybe we walk into a room one day and we're really good and say, we can do stuff and we're giving our stories and we're sharing it and we're doing this and we're doing that and we're really, really happy for people to use it. And then a couple of days later, we wake up feeling not so good and actually thinking that's not such a bad idea, not such a good idea. Allowing people to bring that back and take that consent back is really, really important, even during the meeting. Okay, so that's an important point to note. Fourthly, what we talked about was opportunities. And actually, if people are giving of themselves and they're coming in and they're getting involved in co-production, what are we offering up for people to support them in their growth? They're coming along, they're giving something, but actually they're on a journey of change often. And how can we support them in that change and that growth? So we talked about training opportunities, personal development opportunities, volunteering opportunities. But one of the things we also talked about was talking about mapping out pathways for people so they could see that they join a group doing co-production or whatever it is that they're joining, actually they can see and feel and recognise some change is going to happen, and they can feel it within themselves. And I think that's a really important thing. So here's a question for you. A lot of the guys a lot of people I know are in paid professions. And annually you get your 360s, don't you? Well, you should do. You get your 360s and you talk about career progression and stuff like that and how you can improve and blah-de-blah-de-blah. When we bring people in a room to do a load of stuff for us who are perhaps on their early stages of, journeys of change and things like that, actually it's just as important for them as well, isn't it? Just as, and probably even more important, maybe we could say or argue, that they get the opportunities to go to see pathways, and they get opportunities to be treated the same as anybody else in the room who will be having 360s and opportunities to grow and learn and things like that. So that's a really important thing. And then finally, we talked about the big thing, which was subsistence, we've called it. Food vouchers and travel vouchers, and they're, everyone knows we break bread, so we get pizza. If you come on an Expert Link gig, you're having pizza. Well, you not have to have it, but you're being offered pizza, and we get tea and stuff like that. And we always cover people's travel and stuff. But there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and a lot of confusion around vouchers and payments and things like that, and how do we do that financial reward bit, which is quite difficult. So we've got a couple of bits of fantastic info for you here, guys. We've got or some pieces of work that you can go read to help you on your thinking with this. You'll see the links below. You follow those, and there's some stuff there that'll help you in your thinking. So that was pretty much all of it. We've got we did have a couple of asks, and just let people know. So this is the first one of a series of 12 that we're doing. First one of a series of 12. Our next one is next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. You can sign up on Eventbrite. You can see the link below. It is all about co-production in a digital world. And yes, we're not super digital here at Expert Link, and we're certainly no experts. But actually, again, with co-production and a belief that wisdom is coming into the room, there'll be something there. And I think just like today's vlog and the meeting that we held, if you join us and you walk away with one little nugget, transformational little nugget that helps you in your work and stuff like that, that's a fantastic thing. So if you want to find out more about these, sign up to our mailing list. Absolutely. That's being a link in the description below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and we've got a YouTube channel. This is on YouTube. It'd be really, really interesting to hear any questions or comments or stuff that you've got. You can either put them in the comments below or email us at info@expertlink.org.uk. We'd love to hear from you guys. So that's about all for now, other than to say until next time, stay safe. Do you know what? I've been saying stay safe for such a long time now, and I normally end my videos with stay safe, but now more than ever, it's more important, is it? I always came from a place of the stay safe, and I was thinking of how I was and my community, and how important it is that we stay safe in some of the things that we get up to and stuff. And but now it's for all of us, isn't it? So until next time, guys, stay safe.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. No matter what.